Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be looking at different CPC values and explaining why you should base keywords off of CPCs. Now, it's not entirely just the CPC, but I'll show you exactly what I mean in just a second. So let's go ahead and search the keyword GLP-1. It has a decent CPC value overall. You can see it has an $8.57 CPC value with an average trend of 7.5 on its way up. Of course, it has 101 low competition keywords out of 335 total, with a total traffic volume of 13.225 million. Interesting because there's clearly lots of demand for this keyword, from a consumer standpoint. But should we base the success of a keyword just purely off of CPCs? And I do know people in the SEO industry that do this. They have little hacks, little tricks where they specifically look for, a keyword with a higher CPC value, and then they kind of reverse engineer their whole protocol around that. And that is one viable strategy. Is it a tough strategy? It's very tough. Some people will look out for example, keyword like this on the higher end, $10.97 CPC. And regardless of the amount of search traffic, regardless of anything else, they'll literally go for this keyword and target it just because of its high CPC value. Now, think about who's actually trying to rank for those. Obviously, you have a percentage of people that are AdSense, but those people are one-man teams, if you will. The people who are going for these higher CPC values are people who sell, or they're usually teams, but they sell ad space. Much different than actually going for an AdSense type of approach or a media vine type of approach. They're really, really looking for ad space. Now, you might think, what is that? Why would people want to specifically hearken their whole entire SEO strategy, blogging strategy, off of the CPC values of keywords? It actually makes a big difference because there are people, like I said, who sell this ad space. And what ad space is let's say a company like Ozempic sees that you rank for a keyword that gets 60,000 searches a month, right? GLP-1 agonist. In this case, if you truly rank for it, you're getting 20, 30, 40,000 searches a month, they're going to look at how suitable is your website for them to use it as an ad space platform. And companies like Ozempic, companies, all kinds of companies, they have teams where they're looking for certain websites that they can run ads on. So they'll ask you, hey, how much is your ad space? Please tell us your numbers. And you're going to give them what's referred to as a snapshot. And it's basically showing your analytics of your website. And you're going to show, how you're generating 180,000 visits a month. You're going to show them where the visits come from, the demographics, etc. And because of that, they're going to be able to put a value on it. And usually for every 10,000 visitors, easily $1,000. That's usually what the number is. And you can also look at that and say, okay, well, that's a lot of money. And so that's a $18,000 ad space ad that can be placed. So they'll pay you $18,000 to put their ad on your website. And eventually, when people click on it, it will link them to their official website. Now, this is much different than AdSense because AdSense, people are just using a marketplace bidding strategy. It's much, much different than if you were to actually make money through ad space. 9 times out of 10, people who specifically use this strategy, they're looking for people to reach out to them, and they don't usually reach out to people because they're the ones who dominate the markets. Now, I haven't seen people do this effectively in the long term using black hat strategies. I haven't seen it. And the reason why is because when you use black hat strategies, they absolutely work, but they don't work over the very long term. It's very hard to, have a blog that's constantly using black hat strategies for 15 years straight. Usually what ends up happening is somebody will run a site with some black hat growth. They'll maintain it for, anywhere from 4 months to 6 months. and then they're actually going to plan on selling it. And unfortunately, the buyer behind that, they don't know any of the black hat strategies. They don't know any of the black hat systems. And what they're going to do is they're going to buy the blog, and then they're just going to see the traffic tank over the next few weeks, over the next few months, and it's not going to be up to date anymore. And that's because some of these people use this exact CPC strategy for growth, with a black hat strategy for income, that is, and then they're going to sell off the website acting as if the website is actually worth that much. And of course, that's pretty much of a rotten thing to do, unfortunately, but it does happen. Now, if you're a typical blogger, should you base your success off of a CPC? Should you pick a keyword off CPC? If you're a regular blogger, I'm going to keep it real. The answer is no 90% of the time. The reason why is because most bloggers don't generate hundreds of thousands of visits a month to their website. I think the most amount of visits I ever hit on a website was about 64,000 visits. Now, that's not that much. I've had, friends who've hit, 1.2 million, 5 million hits a month to their website. And you might think of like, okay, well, what's so special about your 64,000? Well, for me, it was lower competition with smaller niches. And that's what made it tremendously hard, but also extremely, extremely profitable over the years. Because when it was lower competition, either it was things that people just didn't know too much about, but I never really relied on AdSense. I always focused on going for selling of the products. So, these CPCs are great, but that's what the advertiser is paying to be able to get their clicks from your platform through Google, let's say, and they're going to do a 50-50 even split between you and Google. So if they're paying $10.50 a click, right, you're going to get $5.25, Google's going to get $5.25, and so on and so forth. And you're going to get paid a little bit for your CPM, assuming that clicks aren't necessarily involved, but you're going to get paid for that as well. And you might be able to reverse engineer the system, go for some higher CPC type keywords, and then get more success later down the road. However, and you'll make a little bit more money. However, that should apply about 10% of the time. If you're really running a blog, you want to have long-term success, I wouldn't focus too much on CPCs. I would more focus on the actual keyword, the competition values, and the products that you can offer. And sometimes that product is a service, and that service could be ad space that could pay you handsomely throughout the years. So, that's what I would really focus on more. So hopefully that answers that question.